spine as a physical therapist is probably the second or third most common injury that we see for dancers. And a very common exercise that many people do are bridges, and depending on how you're cueing them or the little nuances that you're trying to get out of it can really make a difference for what the person is feeling and what you're recruiting muscle-wise. Cool. So I'm going to teach the bridge, and now sometimes we may give this actually as an exercise to help with strengthening the hips, but we're going to apply it today for the spine, and we'll get both mobility and stability out of it. So before you even start with a bridge, we're going to turn the transverse abdominis on, which is the deepest layer of abdominals that look closest to the spine, and they sort of wrap around like a corset. You can't see if Jenna's doing it, but hopefully she feels it in her body. So she's either going to think about hollowing her abdominals out, or she's going to think of her abdominals pulling away from her clothing. It doesn't have to be a huge engagement because she hasn't moved, but it's like turning the motor on. So we want the motor running to start. So she's going to start there. Then the next thing that she's going to do is try to articulate her spine. So she's going to start zipping her pubic bone up towards her belly button. And then we want her to recruit her glutes. So she's going to allow her pelvis to roll off, and she's going to articulate her spine off of the mat, one bone at a time. She'll go through a round back position, which oftentimes dancers don't have because they're working on their arabesque, which is good for articulation. And she's going to arrive in neutral at the top. And depending on how it looks, we may have to lower the pelvis a little bit, but she's probably getting tired, so she's going to come back down by softening the chest first, rolling through the rib cage, allowing each bone in her back to articulate one at a time. The glutes are still on. And then she'll land her pelvis, her sacrum, and then finally return to neutral. And if she was doing this in sequence, she would keep the abdominals on, but make sure she was breathing, and then she would go again. So it's abdominals, zip the abdominals up, which actually recruits the internal and external obliques. Then as she rolls up, her rectus can work. Her gluteus muscles are working at the back to extend the hip, which is what you need for an arabesque. And here she is up in neutral, and then she's going to reverse sequencing, softening the chest first, rolling down through the ribs, the lower back. That's it. Pelvis, sacrum, and returning the hips to neutral. And of course you would do more than these